Hello, I'm Tim, the Tambi OTC channel, and I wanted to talk more about this. I had some more to add to this. Uh, I'm not a fan of this title. I don't think that Elder Scrolls 6 is probably going to be very good. There's very little hope for it. But yeah, I wanted to bring up a few things. This was a comment that I left on it because I hate this freaking title. It is just almost as bad as an Asmongold title. But then again, I don't make very good titles, but this really is kind of stupid because of the perspective. It feels like people's perspectives of what make an RPG is that it needs heavy dialogue choices and options, and that's just not. That is just one or two elements of an RPG. There's action RPGs, there's RPGs that don't have any combat and rely on different things of gameplay. There's all sorts. And it's just like, if we're to count the Elder Scrolls as not an RPG, then what is the Souls games? They technically are RPGs. What is the Final Fantasy series? They're technically RPGs, and I'm talking about all of them, not just one or two. A big majority of JRPGs don't go the length that freaking other games with dialogue like Baldur's Gate. And if we're to count The Witcher and Kingdom Come Deliverance as RPGs going off of what most people think or equivalent a RPG to being what they see as an RPG today, then The Witcher and Kingdom Come Deliverance are not RPGs if we're just factoring that in. First off, The Witcher has you strictly playing as a character that they created for you, and it's restricted to the what to elements of the books also, which means it can't go as out there as stuff like Elder Scrolls with its lore and such, uh, and how it portrays that world. But uh, you are restricted to just a Witcher and Geralt. And with the fourth game, since it's technically canonizing a certain ending, uh, you are restricted to Ciri, a Witcher. So you are forced to play one freaking role, one character, one freaking role. And the same can be said of Kingdom Come freaking Deliverance. And Baldur's Gate at least gets away with this because, first off, you do have a bunch of roles: Bard, Warrior, Wizard, Warlock, whatever. And you have different races, you have different perks to each, which you can technically argue Skyrim has elements of, Elder Scrolls in general have. Uh, it's just like, how could you? When I think of stuff like The Witcher, and I've talked about how I hate realism creeping into video games more and more, and it's not just elements of like how the game looks through realism, but also how it's supposed to try and feel and control, even that it's trying to reflect realism. And uh, it's just getting freaking annoying and all over the place and obnoxious. They just feel more like, as well as another thing that annoys me is games trying to feel more like movies with big cinematics and stuff, which I don't always mind, but it takes a lot control from the player a lot. Uh, it can be frustrating and annoying, especially if you can't skip them. Uh, and it's just like it's like the equivalent of if Naughty Dog made an RPG. Why does every game have to be like a Naughty Dog game, but with elements of this or that gameplay? Like if they did the same to Splinter Cell, which, yeah, that has cutscenes, but you know what I mean. A different genre is being turned into that type of game, movie game. And games have had cutscenes in the past before. It's not something that hasn't been seen, but it's especially heavy nowadays, and you can see just how Oscar baity, even though they're not really going for Oscars to begin with, that these games come out as sometimes. And it's just freaking ridiculous. I was talking about Fallout 4, And I'm been replaying a lot of the Fallout and Elder Scrolls games to see like what my feelings are. Elder Scrolls has never been a game that was about the depth of the conversation and the dialogue in the game. It was more the depth of the world. It never, like, the closest to having prominent choices in the game was Morrowind, because, and that was through choices of just your actions. You killed an important essential NPC, you doomed the freaking world. This guild wants you to eventually kill another opposing guild. Now you out of getting their freaking rewards, as well as you killed those NPCs you could no longer interact with. Stuff like that. But it's just ridiculous. People's interpretation of freaking RPG nowadays. What the frick? There are other elements that make an RPG, guys. If we count if we count just that as being the reason that these are RPGs, then I guess that makes a ton of other games, like a bunch of Ubisoft games and such, RPGs. Like, if we're just counting that stuff, it's ridiculous. And so many Ubisoft games are trying to become RPGs, so it's just ridiculous to begin with. But yeah, it's just so stupid. The interpretation of what makes an RPG, I hate it. When I think of role playing game, I think of you creating a role for yourself. Technically, Stealth Archer is a role, or a rogue or something, or a thief, a bandit. You could role play as a frickin' Argonian Saxhleel if you wanted to. Whether you had the armor, the weapons, and stuff to support it. Like, the game gave you a lot, and it's a big sandbox that lets you roll around in it and do whatever the frick and experiment. I mean, we wouldn't have all the YouTubers like Juve and Doug and Camelworks and such making as many videos as they have on the Elder Scrolls if there wasn't a ton to do with that game and experiment around with and new fresh ideas. I wouldn't be making the videos I'm making if there weren't fresh ideas I'm coming up with or whatever. And when I try to approach something like The Witcher or Kingdom Come Deliverance, I just can't think of any ideas because they're a little bit more strict. Even Baldur's Gate, to a degree, is technically strict because of the way it lays out its worlds. Most of the stuff that's really experimental is when you're actually talking to other NPCs and such. But if I were to explore every little bit of the world and such, I'd still mostly be left at a dead end. It's not quite as experimental a world. That's one thing that the Elder Scrolls and Fallout now has over a lot of these other games. Like, take for another example, I want to do a camping series in different open world games. I can kind of do that with Red Dead Redemption because it gives me the tools with that. Red Dead 2. I can do that with Skyrim because it gives me the tools and it doesn't necessarily need mods for it. And I can do that in frickin' Fallout. Just pick a random campsite or make a campsite or set one up just in pick a random part of the wilderness. I've even done this with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and such. And then survive, hunt for food, become Survivor Man or Bear Grylls, I don't know. I can't quite do that with The Witcher now, can I? I can't set up a campsite or utilize a campsite to the best of my ability. I can't really camp out in the game and hunt for food. It's just not quite the same. So you see why it's not quite as experimental. And if we get into other things, because I think The Witcher's also weak when it comes to armor. Hell, Cyberpunk's weak when it comes to armor and weapons, in my opinion. A lot of the weapons are same, like, types of weapon. Like, you're restricted mostly to swords. You can use axes and maces in The Witcher, but it's the swords that you're really going to rely on, as well as that's what fits to the class they force you to play, technically. The most you can do with the dialogue is what the character would do, or be a dick or don't be a dick. And then the rest is ask a bunch of questions as well as color coded dialogue to let you know what does what. Where people have complained about the dialogue literally saying what you can do. And Bethesda games, they color code it for you, so how's that any different? It's freaking stupid. The interpretations are just so dumb and out there that it just blows my mind with how ridiculous people's interpretations of what makes an RPG has gotten to this point. I know this video is also 3 days old, but I just was recommended it and I think it's something to talk about. Even though it's very brief, it's a very brief video, and I don't think he goes saying too much that would piss me off, but this title alone pisses me off. And this interpretation, this thumbnail is just it's just stupid. It's just really stupid. It says a lot while also just being dumb and arrogant. I'm sorry, Luke Stevens. It just feels like an Asmongold freaking thumbnail and title. It's that bad. But yeah, if we were to go off of that, then I guess these aren't technically RPGs because you can't create a role. You can't technically create a role. You are stuck as either Ciri, Geralt, or this dude, who I forgot the name of. But yeah, you're mostly stuck as those people, and you're stuck. I remember also when I got the best armor set in The Witcher, not counting the DLC stuff or expansions or whatever you want to call them. The armor sucks ass because it's also doing that realism thing both with the cities and the goddamn armor. The armor is just so boring. I'm sorry, it is boring. I love how wild and out there the Daedric armor is. I love how wild and out there the caged armor is in frickin' Fallout. Like, come on, give me a little bit of that spice of fiction, not frickin' reality. I'm living reality. Frick off. You're a fantasy. Other than Kingdom Come Deliverance, that one at least makes sense. But frickin' Witcher, what are you doing? You're a frickin' fantasy. Same with you, Cyberpunk. Why are people wearing frickin' jeans and tank tops and frickin' have their stupid colored hair where it's whooped over on one side and shaved on the other side of their head? Every character has that, and the most you can come up with, other than your Night City, that feels futuristic is a goddamn jacket with a glowing collar. That is so stupid. You're not trying hard enough. When your freaking anime feels like it's trying harder. I would rather a JRPG of your freaking anime than your freaking the game we got, which also has realism problems. And we still don't have flying cars unless we mod it. Frick's sake, where are their priorities at? They still haven't brought a lot of the things they promised. And then the recent video that I don't know if I can find it right now, but the recent immersion, Skyrim is the king of immersion video. Let me see if I can find it. Brought up a lot of the problems of like how, uh, sorry, how like you can't interact with different things. I would recommend multiple of his videos, by the way. Although his Skyrim videos alone, like just being in Skyrim is enough, or why can't I move on, and better than realism, like these three videos alone are what makes Skyrim freaking great, and that's not even it. And yeah, he even brings up how The Witcher doesn't do a lot of the good stuff and that Skyrim does. Like when you walk into somebody's house, which a lot of houses you can't just pick up stuff and mess with it. Like somebody's food on the table or plates and stuff. You can't jump on the table or interact with it. You can lockpick and get into almost everybody's home in Skyrim, where you can't really do that in frickin' The Witcher 3. Like, either it's as well as the thing with like going to bandit camps. It's also laid out like freaking Ubisoft open world. I was 100%ing The Witcher, by the way, recently, and I realized how all the things that you discover on the map, other than the few quests here and there, feel like more like it's a Ubisoft world than it does a freaking dungeon crawling masterpiece of an RPG. You got bandit camps where once you kill all the bandits, new people move in and it's now civilized, which is something that happens in Far Cry 5, by the way, uh, and other Far Cry games, honestly. And then you got freaking treasure chest hunts or whatever. It just feels like a bunch of tedious, mediocre Ubisoft stuff. Don't even get me started on the whole freaking island where you have to freaking hunt down chests in the so many chests in the goddamn ocean, which is a tedious freaking task to go swimming or rowing a boat between each of the chests. God, I can't even get started on how freaking annoying that just sounds in freaking Witcher 3. I'm sorry. God, that's freaking frustrating. It's why I don't like Assassin's Creed Odyssey as well. You may have cool, like, underwater swimming physics and make use of your water, but I'd take Skyrim any day if I had to deal with the tediousness of that stuff. God. But there's just so many other things that it just misses. And then you got NPCs in the game. Like, talk about outdated. People complain about Bethesda games being outdated. You're no different. Yeah, most of your NPCs are nameless dumbasses that are just meant to clutter the streets. This goes for both Cyberpunk and freaking The Witcher. There's barely, and when you do have NPCs, they do have a lot of depth, but most Skyrim NPCs have names and they have a enough depth to feel like living characters, every individual. They have enough to them. And that's not counting the ones that are part of like the main quest line or guild quest lines where they do have more depth. So I'm sorry, games like Elder Scrolls and Fallout technically have more depth there because they're able to fill out almost all of the NPCs. Yes, there's nameless NPCs such as the guards and such, but still, like, God, the hypocrisy of people, the absolute hypocrisy. It's freaking off the charts. And it's irritating. And if this is the way people are going to have a perspective on certain games and stuff, I don't want to live in this world. This is ridiculous. Like, what is this? What is this? I'm sorry. And once again, I like Luke Stevens, but I absolutely hate this title. I hate this thumbnail. Just everything about it, I just hate. It's freaking garbage. My friends haven't even seen it yet. They're busy doing their own thing. But yeah, this is freaking ridiculous. That's pretty much all I have to say. I'm sure there's more to say. I actually have some videos I want to go into more depth talking about. I've actually made a Witcher 3 versus Skyrim video, though I don't know how good it's actually come out, but I thought I talked about everything I wanted to with it. Let's see. Cambio. See Skyrim versus Witcher 3. That's not it. Oh, there it is. I think it was a live stream and that's why it's longer. It's probably too long. I gotta change the thumbnail as well. That's a garbage thumbnail. I'm not always good with thumbnails. But Witcher 3 versus Skyrim discussion live stream. A lot of the stuff, by the way, that I say in this video right here, and this was made 2 months ago, uh, a lot of that stuff is the same stuff this guy has said in his 3 videos. Uh, yeah. And how long ago was this one? This was 2 years. That one's 1 year. And then this one's just 2 weeks. I think a lot of the stuff mostly from this one, though. So I did technically on a lot of things get to a lot of the subjects he talks about, though his video, in my opinion, is much better and more condensed than mine, as well as it's approaching something different from mine, where I'm doing a versus video using these points. He's doing a video about, and I've also talked about in a separate video on realism. Let me show you. Jam EOTC realism in games. Yeah, there it is. I am sick of the normalization of realism in gaming. It's boring. Because it is. And that's a much shorter video, too. And uh, I talk about a bunch of stuff in that, too, that is similar to what he kind of brings up in his video. And how long? So this is 2 weeks. What was this one made ago? 4 weeks. I was 2 weeks ahead of him. Though, once again, he made much better quality content, and I absolutely love and recommend his video. He did do a lot of the same subjects and say a lot of the same things I did, just in a better condensed and well-crafted video, really well-crafted video. With green screen and everything. He put his heart out in those videos, and I love it. Where I have the effort of a ham sandwich, as well as the budget. But yeah, it's just crazy to me. And I know I've bought figurines and stuff, but those are things that I genuinely have always been wanting and couldn't get before. And I'm finally able to do that more recent years. But still, that doesn't mean I don't have other problems that I have to face or try to get around that prevent me from going the places that these other people can. So yeah, I just think this was ridiculous and I had enough. I know not many people are going to hear my comments or my words or my videos or anything, but as long as it's out there, and when that day comes when people also realize that problem as well, I can say, hey, I made a video a frickin' long time ago about this. It is now relevant. And it's not the only one. Another hilarious thing that I said that was relevant was physical media. Let me see if I can find that too. That was another thing I talked about before Critical Nobody, before Jeremy Johns. And I wasn't even, I was just thinking of it because I love physical media and I started to see the problem crop up after the whole stop killing games thing. So this is my most recent one, which is just like a couple days old. But look, why I think physical media is still important. Look how long ago that one is. It was 9 months ago I made that. 9 months ago. And now people like Jeremy Johns and frickin' Moist Critical and such are talking about it. Hell, there's a lot of people now talking about it. And I'm happy about that. I love that. More power to them. That's freaking awesome. And I'm glad they're talking about that stuff. Hell, I think even Luke Stevens talked about it. It's great. Use people with a big audience that can actually reach the people for something so important, in my opinion. But I think this is also something, it's not as important, but it is something that I feel has been really misstrewn over the years and just so stupid on people's interpretation of what makes an RPG an RPG. No, there are different types of RPGs. If we make every game the same goddamn thing, it's going to get as boring as the reason I described freaking realism is making games boring to me. So frick off with that. I'm sorry, but seriously, stop it. Get some help. But it is just freaking frustrating and annoying. I'm sick of it. Hopefully, people come to realize that stuff, or that years down the line, that it becomes it just kind of fades in the background, and they just forget about it. Whatever. I don't know if the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be any good. I don't have hope for it. Another game I don't have hope for is Mass Effect 4, not 5. Frick off with calling it 5. Andromeda doesn't freaking count because it doesn't have the characters from 1, 2, and 3. It also doesn't have freaking 4 in the title. So piss off. It's the 5th Mass Effect game, yes, when it does come out eventually, but it is not Mass Effect freaking 5 in the terms of the Commander Shepard universe. So, frick no. As well as I don't see. That's another game that's technically. Also, are we not going to talk about that? Technically, Mass Effect Andromeda and Dragon Age Veilguard are RPGs. Yeah, I know. Shocking. But they're RPGs. How are you going to argue around that one? I hate both of them, but they're technically RPGs, just really bad RPGs, and bad RPGs exist too. You're telling me that stuff like Elder Scrolls is as bad as those? Frick no. Not even close. Frick that. But anyways, I hope you found something interesting from this. Uh, I thought I was able to put better thought into this video than the previous one, but I might as well make multiple anyways, just in case, have a shorter one and then this slightly longer one going over different things. But I hope you enjoyed. You have an awesome day, and I will see you next time. Bye bye. Bye, Jimmy's mom. Transform and roll out. Yeah, that's about it. See ya. Thanks.